Hello and welcome to the show. As we start today's show, I want you to imagine with me. You publish a job posting, get tons of qualified candidates, screen, interview, background check your top picks, and present an offer. Seems pretty normal, right? Now, imagine I told you that all of that could happen in under 1 hour. Have your ears perked up yet? On average, if you don't know, the hourly wage industry has a 18% higher rate post interviews. That means close to 80% of the time, the energy, the resources are just lost in hiring a single candidate. And effectively, companies can't hire efficiently. The problem is even more pronounced for industries that need to hire in large volumes of employees. As you can see, the problem just exacerbates. So, question for today, how can organizations drastically reduce their time to hire while making the most efficient use of their hiring resources? Well, today we talk with Martin Mathe, one of the co-founders of Appyhere, a recruitment platform and service with the stated goal of simplifying the interactions between hiring companies and job seekers. Join us today as we learn how Martin and the team at Appyhere are revolutionizing recruiting by leveraging intelligent hyper-automation to help companies fill their positions and make the recruiting process super efficient. Martin, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
No worries. And as we always do, we'll be back after we cue the intro. Martin, thanks again for being on the show. I know our guests are really going to love what you have to share, your background, your experience, and the cool things happening at Appyhere. So to kick things off, how about you tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're located, and what you do?
Okay. I'm father of two young kids. So that's by itself, it's a full-time job.
Yes.
I'm based out of Montreal, Canada, as you can notice by my accent. Started in HR 25 years ago, started as a labor relation guy, and I'm one of the co-founder of Appyhere. So, and what I'm doing at Appyhere, we started 4, and now we're more than 30, and was in charge of everything in a startup. Now we're a scale up, and now I'm in charge of strategy and partnership at Appyhere.
Beautiful. And I think I really wanted to talk to you because more than maybe a traditional tech founder, your past career and background actually stems from kind of core HR. So I would love for you to tell us your story, share a bit about your past career life and the events that really led you to Appyhere, because I think that's a really cool story that you shared there.
Okay, perfect. I started in labor relation in the aerospace industry at the CAE back then. I remember back then we were still receiving resume by fax when I started.
Fax machines. So you're not trying to date yourself at all.
Yeah. And I was lucky to work in very different industries. So aerospace, mining, consulting engineering, gaming, tax industry, explosives. So I was, and I had opportunity to work in both companies that are high-tech and companies that are really low-tech, traditional, where you're hiring a lot of blue collar. And what led me to Appyhere, actually, I was the VP of HR at a company in Montreal called Theo Taxi. So imagine it's like Uber, but having your drivers or employees, and they're getting paid a living wage.
Some may argue Uber the right way.
But I will be honest with you, without Uber, that business model will never have it.
Of course, yes.
On this, but yeah, so that's, what happened is that I was there, I had to hire, like in a really short period, 500 drivers.
Oh, wow.
Okay? We're talking here 2018, okay? And someone in my network told me, I have a friend, he has an idea, he wants to talk to you. That friend was Serge Mascotte. Serge Mascotte is the founder of Appyhere, is my partner in Appyhere. And Serge has an interesting background because he was the general manager of the platform at Taleo back then, until Oracle bought them, and also was the CTO at GDA Software. So he's someone who has a background both in HR tech and supply chain. And he realized that often in supply chain, the issue was the recruiting of the hourly employees. So the idea of Appyhere came to him. So at lunch, honestly, I still remember that lunch because it had a huge impact both professionally and personally. So, and back then you need to understand that Appyhere was just a concept, was just an idea. He didn't even add a pitch deck, okay? So told me, hey, here's my idea, what do you think? So I didn't realize what I was offering back then. I said, hey, let's try it at Theo Taxi. So in June 2018, started to program and develop the application. I've done the proof of concept in October 2018, and within 2 weeks, we hired 50 drivers with Theo.
Wow. 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Like hired, job offer, they're ready to go. Wow.
Yeah. The process was pretty fast back then. It was maybe 3-4 days. Okay, back then, but the Appyhere, and you need to realize that what we were back then and what we are today was totally the evolution of the solution. It's not the same solution, but the core, how it's easy to apply, the data was there. And for me, that's what started like a project. Serge asked me to join, and a year later, I left my job as a VP of HR to become an entrepreneur and work full-time for Appyhere.
Wow. What a amazing story that one lunch, turned into,
you never know.
Here you go.
That's the importance of networking. You never know.
That's so true. There's been countless, I think, examples of that in my life. And it's just, one of those serendipitous kinds of things that, one lunch turns into one pilot, turns into changing my whole career. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think because you do have a kind of core background in HR, both in the blue collar industry or and the knowledge worker industry, I think that some people who may not work in that area may not know some of the challenges that workforce or hiring for that workforce entails. What are some unique peculiarities about hiring in an hourly wage industry that are different from more knowledge work-centered industries? I'm curious, to get your thoughts on that.
There's a couple of elements, but one of the first is a job is a commodity for the job seeker.
For the job seeker, okay, yeah.
So, and often the discussion with customer, we explain to them that, okay, you have a great company, but there's so many great companies. When you sit in the eyes of the job seeker, and specifically with the hourly job seeker, okay, it's a huge part of the workforce in North America.
Yep.
Their needs are different. The way they view their career, the way they view, because they don't have the same expectation as a software developer, for example. Okay, for them, salary is important, but the location, the schedule, and often because we had the opportunity to, we're talking a lot with our user and job seeker in the last 4 years, and a theme that is coming every time is for them, they will realize themselves, I will say the Maslow pyramid, if I can say, often outside of work. Work is a tool. And it will say, if I don't have the schedule that I have, I will find another job. And what happened with COVID is that it just exacerbates that reality, make it even more relevant. The other thing in that market is that we strongly believe that speed is more important than your employee brand.
Wow.
Okay? The speed, there have so many opportunities. Okay, just in the focus group that we're doing with job seeker, they could have interaction before COVID, maybe with 7 or 8 companies. Now they can have interaction between up to 20. So it's the first one that call them, first one they do an interview, first one is doing the offer. Often that will be, if they fit their requirement, they will pick that because they're the first. First, they need to work, okay? And that's what is more important. It's that speed, because you're not buying a candidate, you're buying a moment of attention from the candidate. And when he apply, that's his attention level is at the highest, and it's hours before that interest will diminish towards your process, towards your job. Mm-hmm. So this is why that we strongly believe that speed is more important than your employee brand.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, hearing a job is a commodity and speed beats brand. If you're, come from a more, traditional knowledge worker, job industry, it's like, no, our company brand is what will drive people to us. Like, no, your target audience sees you as a commodity. You need to be there when they're there, right? And I think that's a completely different approach to hiring,
I'll give you one example of the focus group we're doing with the hourly. And it was a shock for me when I realized that. Is that when we were talking with them, why they don't show up to interviews. Okay? And often, pre-pandemic, everybody wanted to do in-person interviews. And for some of them, taking a transit costs money.
Sure. Yeah.
And for them, they don't have the flexibility that we have, us white collar. So it's the cost, of time. This is one of the reasons. And when we talk to that with sometimes with some of our customer, they're surprised that they didn't. It's not that they don't realize.
Yeah.
Because we've seen a reduction of, in a certain way, a reduction of no-show because of that. Because the cost of going to interview is lower for the job seeker.
Yeah.
There's other element why the ghosting is a problem, but it's one of the elements that why it's so different. It's one element. You'll never think that a software engineer won't want to come to an interview because it needs to take the bus or the subway.
Yeah. You're so right. In fact, I remember one of my early first jobs I had, it was pretty far. It was like an hour 20-minute train drive away. And I remember going for the interview and just not having money. I had to ask my folks, can you give me some money to go to this job interview? If I make it, I promise to give it back. So it's really interesting that, you do have to think differently of there are greater costs to showing up just because you believe in-person interviews will drive your decision making. So I think that those are really, really, I think, great perspectives to have, when you're talking about hourly wage industries and just how that, really differs. And kind of going from that too, I would, love to kind of hear, your thoughts on this, because I think you've talked about it, but let's dive deeper. I shared in the opening that on average, the hourly industry has about an 18% higher rate after interviews, and this sounds like a lot of time and, money wasted on trying to find a single candidate. So, where are the bottlenecks here, Martin? What are the reasons for this inefficiencies? And I think you talked a bit, probably about, maybe the cost to the, a candidate or, things like that. But, with what you've seen from your past career and what you're seeing here at Appyhere, help us understand those bottlenecks, those inefficiencies.
But the first thing I could say is that you can't recruit like 2019. Okay. That's because the pandemic had a huge impact on every facet of our life. Okay. I will tell you one example is the application process, and I like to compare it with the Uber. Okay. Me, I still remember the first time I used Uber. I was surprised. I remember, okay, I'm getting out of the taxi. Do I need to pay? Because I was so used to ask for a receipt. Now ask me to take a traditional taxi. Because of those friction, I prefer to use Uber. It's part one and it's easier. So the application process is the same thing right now. So what we're doing, we're just eliminating the friction in the application process. That's one part of what we're doing. This is why that every time that we're talking with a customer, we apply to their for one of their job, and it's amazing when we tell them, "Hey, it took me 15 minutes to complete the application process." Okay, us the first time it's less than 2 minutes, and it's in 2 minutes you apply, you get pre-screened, and you get scheduled an interview. And if you have the app already, it's less than 30 seconds. So the friction, it's one of the efficiency. It's not designed for the hourly worker. It's designed for someone that sits behind a computer and he's good with a computer. Most of that talent pool is using his phone to apply. They're using Google when they start their job search. So all those inefficiencies just at the application process. Often we have customers that come to us just to get the quick apply. But from there, we learn so much about the rest of the journey, because right now, most of our customers, the inefficiency, it's after the interview, up their schedule for the first shift. They're losing a lot of their candidate, and most of the cost of recruiting is there. So it's all of those. The example I say, it's like your application process is like a boat, and speed and data make the water level go down. And there's rock that you had before that was not an issue before the pandemic, because the supply of candidate, the demand of candidate was not the same. So it's becoming an issue. Yeah. So that you get back to a candidate within 2 days after the interview, he was still there in 2019. Give you an example. Last week we had a customer. They lost 6 hires because it took them 2 days after the interview to make the offer. Wow! Because all 6 got offer elsewhere. So the friction is caused by all of those process and element of your recruiting, and it's an issue about the technology. It's an issue about the mindset also of the recruiter. Okay, the good thing I say to customer is us or data show that the weakest link is the recruiter, but the one who has the most impact on your ability to recruit is the recruiter. So the recruiter, the mindset, when they realize that they need to, for example, we tell them, we can measure if at what time the candidate wants to do the interview. So are you available as a recruiter when it's good for you as a recruiter, or are you available when the person that you want to recruit is available?
Wow, yeah.
So, and that we're able to give a lot of visibility in their process. So this is why Appyhere, it's not just a quick apply or a hire from within 40 minutes. It's a lot more a tool that helps recruiter use data and measure themselves and act on the data. We give them the visibility from who is seeing your job posting up to the onboarding and later. So that's and there's the good news is that most of the inefficiency are able to get tackled pretty fast. Okay, us we're up and running within 3 weeks, first hire, and we are getting most of our customers, we're getting significant impact on their recruiting process within 2-3 months.
Well, I think that goes to shows that, the paradigm or the norms that people had about this is what a recruiting process looks like really needs to shift. And I do want to get to this concept of a mindset shift, because I think it's important and really, really interesting. But I do want to go on a tangent there, because you talked about the technology, right? And for me, it was really interesting, reading the Bureau of Labor Statistic report saying that close to about 60% of the workforce, at least in the U.S., right? Let's take like the U.S., but I'm extrapolating that like a bit. It work in the hourly wage industry, right? Yet a lot of the recruiting software, in my opinion, and I think that most will agree, isn't really geared for that group of people and population. So I'm curious to get your thoughts and perspective. Obviously, being somebody who was on the other side, who used to have to like evaluate and purchase these kinds of platforms. Why do you think that is? Yeah.
Honestly, the first thing is that come when I realized, because we've learned so much in the past 4 years about the reality of the hourly workforce, that the thing that come to mind is that it's designed with the professional, college educated people. So let's say you test a technology, it works fine because it's designed in the way you think, it's designed in the way you've been trained. But you have a lot of people for those positions that didn't go to college, that the way often we, both in Canada, US, sometimes English is their second or third language. So if there's a lot of word, they sometimes don't understand. It's as simple as that. Also, you need to talk, you need to put yourself in the shoes of an hourly worker. And most of them are designed for software engineers, professional, HR professional, finance professional. They work fine. But the way they think, the way they look for a job is completely different. Completely. And I think the other thing is what happened with COVID is that we've seen the importance of the hourly talent pool. Because I'm always telling my team, if the box is not moved in a warehouse by someone, the box doesn't move. You see the value, the effort of the employee, you see it, you can measure it. Sometimes in the white collar space, it could be more challenging to measure the impact of someone sometimes. So the HR tech is designed by professional for professional. And that's what we've seen us as a huge opportunity in the market, because everything that we're doing is designed to simplify the life of both the job seeker and the recruiter. Mm. It's not for one or the other. It's for both of them.
I think that's really, really cool insight there, Martin, that somebody like you can have that technology a lot of times was to develop for the same people by the same people who use it, but it may not be apropos for the target audience it's supposed to serve, right? And I think that's such a excellent point. As you were talking, I mean, like I looked up the percentage of people in the U.S. who go to college, and it's 66%, right? So it's most of Americans, right, who I think the platform should be trying to serve. So, we talked about mindset shifts for the technology industry. And I think that's super important because it shows kind of that gap and obviously the opportunity here for Appyhere. But I think there's also almost a mindset shift that you kind of need to have, or your clients may need to have. So I'm curious to learn about what's the most significant shift clients have to have when looking at recruiting in the way that Appyhere does it.
I want to explain to customers sometimes the solution and tell them we feel like sometimes like Henry Ford when he was showing the car, the Model T.
Model T first time, yeah.
So if you don't know what the car is, what you want is a horse. You want a bigger horse and a faster horse.
People looking for horses, yeah.
And us, we're telling them, it's not a Model T we're showing you. It's a Tesla. It's almost self-driving. So sometimes that's the shift. And it's the shift about little details has a huge impact on your ability to convert candidate, the ability to control your costs, and improve the recruiting. So what we do, we measure everything. Okay? We can measure the productivity of a recruiter, so there's a lot, their progress. So, and honestly, they're not used to get that type of data. And often there's two kinds of mindset. Some people love that and they want to improve. Others are resisting. And I'm coming from HR, and usually it's people that like proven solution. They like to, if it works somewhere else, it will work. So we're often that mind shift is, hey, you need to adjust, you need to try things, because what we say with our customer is that we'll start at point A, but we don't know where we will finish. And the speed, we will be able to give you a visibility data. For example, the type of data we provide with a customer that sometimes may help them move their mindset or change their mindset is the fact we see at our customer that 6% of the ghost interview are caused by the recruiter. Why? Because the recruiter is either forgot that he has an interview or is late to the interview. And when we are showing that to our customer, they're really surprised. And when we talk to the recruiter, often they have really good reason to not showing up. But at the end, you're losing a candidate that might have cost you $1,000 to bring into an interview. So that mindset shift, that we're telling them that you have an impact, because what the data showed us is that the recruiter that understands speed, understands data, understands that he's selling a position even for a forklift driver or even in a retail store, will have success. But what we're doing, we're giving you data and a way to improve your process.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, that data isn't something they've normally had before, right? It's something that has been maybe historically challenging to get, or just maybe just a little bit unclear. But I think that data, a lot of times, it sparks those conversations of, this is naturally what I need to do to take the next step here. And I think that's fantastic. So one thing I do want to ask, because I think this is, quite a effective selling point, and we've talked about it in bits and pieces, but I think one of the biggest claims to fame for Appyhere is just reducing that time to hire so much. How does Appyhere reduce the time to hire so low, even claiming to be able to, make an offer in as little as 40 minutes after someone applies? I think we've talked about it, but, if you can share like a little bit of that secret sauce there, Martin, help us understand. Because I think for most people, even hearing that, they don't even believe it, because they're like, there's no way. Like, I've been hiring folks for 20 years of my life, right? What are you talking about right now, Martin?
Okay. It's funny because I always tell customer that, okay, it's when everything, the planet were aligned, okay? So it's 40 minutes. It's the one I verify. And the story is that when I spoke to the candidate, it was funny because even for her, it was so fast that she didn't believe, okay? So,
like, do I really have a job?
Is it real?
Yeah.
So, but the way we do that is we're simplifying and getting a process that is frictionless. Okay. On average, our customer, they're from the time that someone will apply, from the time they're getting scheduled for the first shift, is between 24 to 48 hours on average for a large organization. Okay. 40 minutes, it's a large organization. They are in 2,000 employees per year. So they've been able to do it because their process was simple. It was an operation manager. Everything was able to be done in that 40 minutes. But the way we do it is there's the speed. There's roughly, we're right now like automating around 85% of the job of the recruiter. So the recruiter, you create your job in Appyhere, but after that, the only thing you do is you put your availability and you do interviews. The pre-screen, everything is done within our solution. So all the steps and tasks that are not value added are either automated or eliminated. For example, we have a lot of our customers, one of the first gain that they are getting with us is we're eliminating their phone screen. So often the recruiter will do a phone screen to make sure it's a good candidate, and that they will schedule an interview after the phone screen. Us, we eliminate that, the system pre-screen. And what's the other thing also it's interesting is that our system learn. So I'm always telling a customer, this is why it will take 2-3 months to see real impact, because you'll get your hire within 3 weeks. But as we get data, improve the process, people get used, the recruiter gets used to the new way of working, we'll get that result. And often we have the impact, it's more, let's say we have some operation, some of our customers, it's the operation, the store manager or the supervisor is using the app. And what they realize is that they will save per week 2 days worth of work, not doing interview and doing recruitment. So what we've seen with one of our customers is that the onboarding, the operational managers have more time to do the onboarding, the training of new employee, and I'm keeping their tenure is better, their retention is better.
Nice.
So that's the why do you need to play a phone tag or email tag with someone to schedule an interview? The thing is that we have all of those elements that are together in one system that save you time, save you also give you the ability to talk to the right candidate at the right moment. The other thing is that what we do also, we're cost neutral, because what we do, us or Thailand, often is no ATS, no job board, no agency. So we have a large customer that no longer use the ATS for the hourly. They use us. We're not an ATS, but we have a lot of functionality that address the need of the ATS. Right now, we're hiring in a major food processor in both in Canada and US. We're hiring around 1,000 employees without using any job board.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So, and often I'll be pretty frank with that. We tell our customer business case is that you won't need an agency after us. And we have several customers that stop using agency because we're automating so much of the work the recruiter. We're up and down doing campaign to attract candidates. So there's no need to use an agency anymore. So we're cost neutral in that way.
That's beautiful, and I think that right there, I think shares a lot. That hyper automation, right? That those things that take up a lot of time, take up a lot of energy, take up a lot of resources, but may not add significant value to the hiring process, I think is kind of the secret sauce there with all the AI and intelligent technologies that you all implement as well. I know another component that, for some folks is a mindset shift and could be even a little controversial is this topic of resumes, right? Because I think in Appyhere, either for most of your clients or maybe it's throughout like the product, candidates don't apply with a resume, or at least that's an option. And for some people, they're like, how do I assess my candidate if they don't have a resume? So I'm curious to learn from you, why remove the resume and what difference does it make in the hiring process?
But it's funny because if you ask the candidate, because often every time we're doing a focus group, they will tell us 2 things. It's easy to apply. And I know because if you're not getting moving in the process, you will know. And the system will tell you didn't work, so they know. The other thing they will say, we love there's no resume. Because you need to understand that the market is shifting, okay? And there's a stat that around 28% of the Americans between 18 and 29 don't have a computer. Their computer is their phone. They do everything with their phone. So ask them to create a resume on a phone, okay? So the market, we're a mobile first tool. So the resume, it's part of the technology evolution. And for us, a resume is a friction, okay? It's something that at the beginning, we got a lot of pushback from HR, okay? And honestly, at the beginning, we had a couple of customers that didn't want to work with us only because of that. But the thing is that now the result that we have show and prove that you don't need a resume. And when we ask our customer, why you want a resume? Well, I want to know the candidate. So you think that you will know a candidate just with the information on a resume. So what do you read on the resume? What is really interesting is that, and we didn't design the tool like that, okay, to be honest, but the only information that we are getting from the candidate is name, first name, last name, phone number, email, where he wants to work, and his past experience. We don't know his origin, man, woman, his age, that kind of stuff. So what we realized is that the candidate will tell us also his education, but after that, you don't know, you don't have, the system will pre-screen them. So we're giving the opportunity to the candidate to go and interview that sometimes because it's a human that making the decision. And I'm going back to that. The weakest link is the human in that process.
Yes, unfortunately, but
it's human
understandably.
nature.
Yes.
It's human nature.
Of course.
We compare that to the stock market.
Yeah.
Right now, the stock market, how a human can compete with computer. We see it as the same thing in recruiting.
Wow.
Okay? Where it's moving. So that resume, you have the information to take the decision. So this is why for us, the resume, it's a friction. And a resume is mostly because we are every time I've done it, so we need to continue to do it. And I had a conversation with a customer and his team. It's funny because they have a really young recruiter. And for them, it's a customer that they started to work with us. They never worked in HR. They only work with the system with Appyhere. So in their mind, it's funny because I wanted on the call, I don't need a resume.
Yeah.
For them, having a resume, it's the path.
Right. Interesting.
Because we're used to, and often I say I'm old enough. I know at the beginning I told about the facts, but I remember when we were asking the candidates stop faxing their resume and ask them to send an email, their email. So for us, it's just another evolution in the technology and the way that the resume, because I will argue also for white collar, if you have a good LinkedIn profile, do you really need
a resume? That's true. That's
true.
True.
Because I don't have a resume. It's not the thing. So if I was looking for a job, say go on LinkedIn and look at my
experience.
Profile. So
no, I think this is fascinating, and I think it tells the times of one, just the now a lot of employers are trying to understand the impacts of Gen Z and how to really attract them, and I think this mindset of reducing friction, regardless of the industry, if it's the hourly industry or knowledge, like worker like industry, I think the friction is what a lot of times can create those obstacles to really get candidates in the actual door. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle and kind of find those obstacles at. But I know the resume has been a staple of modern work society, but I think just like with most things, this gives an opportunity to say, is this really the best way? What do we really need? And I'm happy and great that Appyhere is doing that. So as we kind of move to kind of wrap things up here, like a few things about Appyhere, and I think you've talked a lot about it, and I encourage folks to go to the website. We'll put it up afterwards to check it out. But what would you say is the number one value proposition of Appyhere? If you can kind of condense that. I mean, it seems to do a lot, but what do you think is the biggest value it brings for organizations?
What we do, we bring speed to our hourly employees. Because at the end, we're measured by do you hire or not. That's our number one value proposition. We do that through facts and data. And also another way is that we bring predictability in your hourly hiring. That's what we do. Because right now we have some customer, we've been working for them, let's say for a year or two. We know it will cost you around that to bring X amount of employee, and it will take you within a week, within 3 days, within 10 days, depending on their process and the job market.
So, Martin, this has been great. I think, sharing about the value proposition that you are bring has been excellent. That really surrounds exactly like what you said, speed and data. I'm not surprised at all. And, with all that you all are doing now, I would love to kind of hear and talk about more like what's next? What's on the horizon for Appyhere that you all have been so successful in just really being able to reduce the time to hire, but there's so many other challenges that HR teams face. I'm curious about what's on the horizon. What's next?
But what we're doing right now, because one of the friction that or some of our customers are having is the tenure retention of the hourly workforce. So we're already working with some of our customers to improve the tenure and the retention. But we want to give them the ability to predict at the pre-selection process if someone, a candidate, has a chance to stay. We have some customers, they want their employee to stay a year when they have a huge turnover, let's say in the first month, but we want to improve that. So tenure and retention, we're working with several large customers to improve. So that's one of the elements that we're working right now. The other thing, it's about diversity and inclusion. We had, sometimes you design things, you don't realize that it has an impact. But I'll give you one example we've done is that at one of our customers, they hire someone who was through text messaging in the app, a candidate that was deaf and was not able to speak. He has done his interview through text message. We didn't. When we saw that, honestly, I was really moved. We're really moved because, and the person got the job.
That's
And
beautiful. That's
so
beautiful.
that's the thing. How we could improve the ability of people to get a job and those frictions. So we're working hard. We have another customer that what we've done is that just by giving the automatic pre-screening, giving the opportunity to everybody to apply, they got an increase of 12% of their diversity of their store.
Wow.
Of the new hires. So we have a lot of data, and we're working closely with several customers to improve that. Also, what we're doing, we're partnership with other solutions. So we have a really good partnership with Surgeon that is doing background check, and Surgeon, they share with us speed, because this is why we have some customer that their cycle time is a day or two, because Surgeon is able to increase the speed of the background check. So, and we're in discussion and we're open to work with other partners to leverage their solution for our customer. So there's the two main reasons. Also, we'll complete our Series A this year. So more to come.
Okay. Are you all doing anything on the compensation end to anything like on that end? Because I know that's a big topic right now with the crunch like for talent. People coming in at a higher rate, comparing it to your current rate. Anything on the horizon on that front?
Yes, we're working with customers. What we do, we're doing a campaign to attract candidates, but during those campaigns, we're able to almost in real time, give them data about the salary and the salary expectation and the salary for that type of talent in that specific area. So a suburb, we've done it. So we're able to give them data about the salary expectation and what is the market, and within 2 weeks we get results within a week or two.
Wow.
So when we say it's data in real time,
that's super real time. Yeah. Yeah. I've worked out places where the data usually is a year lagging. If you're really good, this is last quarter's data, right? But being able to kind of get that hyper local, and I think if I think about it, it makes sense because you have the probably the salary expectations of the candidate. You have maybe the salary expectations of the recruiter or like the company, and their actual job offer. I'm assuming, right? So
Yes.
those are all points where you can really understand market demand, market supply, where those price points meet. I think that is super exciting. You know that you all are on the precipice of that. I look forward to hearing and talking about that more. So we're here towards the end of our show, and we'd like to ask a few fun questions from our guest here. So the first question I'll ask you, Martin, is if I offered you a billboard to put a message or a takeaway from today, what would that billboard have? You've dropped a lot of great gems and nuggets. I can probably guess what you're gonna say, but what would you have that billboard say?
Hey, it's all about speed and data.
Not surprised. Not surprised. I think that's been like a running theme, and I'm glad like to hear that, and hopefully those folks again who are listening, this encourages you to rethink of how your hiring process works and how it could work as well. What's something you're actively learning, or if not learning, what's something you're looking forward to, either home or professional life?
Honestly, I was thinking I knew about early recruiting 4 years ago, and I realized how much I didn't know.
Interesting.
And there's still a lot of good thing that we want to do about diversity, inclusion, retention. There's a lot of opportunities. So I'm looking forward to see how the labor market will evolve and transform. And we're really at Appyhere happy to participate and help it become more efficient.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we will continue to watch Appyhere on that journey here, because I think you're off to a great start. And then last question here for the show. What's the best piece of career advice you were given, or the best piece of career advice you've learned inside of your career? So either one.
I will say learn to say no.
Learn to say no. Okay, why that? Interesting. Most people would say yes to everything, but learn to say no. Tell me more.
No, but the thing, what I see, but it's because of my personality, because I'm the one with ideas. Okay, I have a lot of ideas, and also I'm really open. So sometimes I'm very protective of my time, because if I want to get results, I need to protect my time for me, for my partner. So it's not. I'm a yes person, okay, more than a no person. So to learn how to say no, that's for me. And the other thing also, what is really important, I think my story is that it's the addition of building a network. Networking is key in every industry.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Learn to say no. I mean, say yes to some things, but be mindful of no. And, and networking, like you never know where a Zoom meeting or a lunch, as in yourself, can bring you a beautiful story, and just, a wonderful time having you here on the podcast, Martin. If people want to learn more about Appyhere or reach out to you, where are the best places that they can do that?
I think through LinkedIn, it's the best way. Reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or on the Appyhere website. It's a good chance that it will be me on the other end of the call or the hangout. So
beautiful, beautiful. Well, Martin, thanks again so much for being on the show. We're really appreciated. And again, folks, check out appyhere.com. Great site. We'll put up some contact info here at the end. And with that, Martin, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
No problem.